call the meeting to order of the Addison Northwest School District. I'm Tom Borchard. For those of you who don't know, I'm the vice chair of the board, and Sue, our illustrious chair, is on vacation, so you're stuck with me tonight. I would like to entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any changes that anyone needs or wants to make to the agenda? Nope. Excellent. Public communication.
All approved.
Oh, sorry?
All approved.
Oh, did anyone, yes or no? Yes?
Yes.
Oh.
Any opposed? Thanks, sorry. It's
We're
going to
gonna
be
work on Robert's
it's going to
watch
be a
him
long night. Public communication. Welcome, public. Would anyone like to say something to the board? No. Okay. So next order of business, board education. We are going to start with Dana Peterson of the Hannaford Career Center, who is going to talk to us about visioning work at the Career Center. So I assume you want this, so I will
Yes.
out of the way.
So I'm going to turn it over to Jake Farnum.
Okay.
Who will introduce all of us.
My name is Jake Burnham. I teach engineering, architecture, and computer science at the Hannaford Career Center in Middlebury, and I have the distinct privilege of working with Virgin's 11th graders and 12th graders. Dana Peterson is our superintendent, Suzanne Buck is our board chair, and Kim Farnum is also board representation. Part of why we're here tonight is to share with you something that we've been working on this past year, and we'll continue to work on over the next few years, and we need your help with this venture. Tonight's learning targets, PPGR. There is not a quiz, but I am holding you accountable, and you should hold me accountable to hitting these targets. The theme for the first 5 minutes here is developing some understanding around International Baccalaureate, specifically the career-related program, and then part 2 of our show is some mission vision work, and that's where we get to learning target 4 to encompass everybody's. Show of thumbs up if you've heard of International Baccalaureate, IB, either in the paper, you've met a student of IB, you have a student of IB, you are a student of IB. Cool. 1968 in Switzerland. They didn't really get it right until 2012 when they created the career-related program. Yoo-hoo! School is almost here. I have to work on my bad jokes. I'm sorry. You get to be in the audience. Okay. Career-related program is a career and tech ed wonderful, wonderful opportunity. And this is where your students in Addison Northwest get to come in. If IB were a tree, it would look like this, where the primary year program is K-5, middle years program is 6th, 10, and the diploma program or the career-related program is 11th and 12th grade. Each of those 4 colors has a wonderful framework attached to it. This is the career-related program framework. It's also in your packet for more close reading. We're going to break down the rings of this, and you'll start to see how your students and how your community will benefit by the Career Center adopting CP. There is three elements to the framework of CP. The first is the career-related study. This is what the Career Center right now already does with our CTE programming. To be a viable CRS within the program, the Career Tech Ed program has to be over 2 years. It has to be accredited or recognized by one of these 4 bodies. All of our programming lands in one of those 4 bullets. So from an adoption standpoint, CRS, we're really good. This is the part of the whole IB philosophy that was really missing, this connection to academic industry, right? We are school, we are teaching for industry, academic industry. I don't know if that's coined, but I'm going to take it. Second part of the framework is the IB courses. So a certificate candidate will take 2 IB courses. These look like your traditional, I don't want to say traditional. These are your English class or your math class or your science class. but it's the IB English or the IB Math or the IB Science, which means it has a third-party assessment at the end of that course. One of the two needs to be taken over 2 years. One of the two courses is of standard level, meaning general pace, and one is of higher level, which is a little more accelerated pace. You might think of that as kind of AP equivalent, okay, that higher level program. Questions so far? Keep plowing. Yes?
These IB courses,
Yes.
everyone, including the technical kids and everyone else?
So we're going to get to that great question.
Okay.
Within the certificate program, these are only required for certificate candidates. Okay? The third part of the framework that is really, really exciting for us is the CP core. The CP core. The CP core.
Jake, can I ask a
Yes.
question while you do that? You said for the certificate program, is that different than what we typically think of in computer programs?
Yes.
Thank you.
Different from what?
So,
What did you ask, Steph?
Well, we call a 2-year student at the Career Center a completer. They've completed the program, it's usually over 2 years.
Okay.
That's a completer, and then he's calling us the certificate program, and I wanted to just make a distinction that, so there's, I think he's been talking about an
Yep.
IB completer, an IB certificate.
Yes.
But there's still the completer level.
I see.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Clear? Great. Third part of the framework that we're really excited about and is totally applicable to opening flexible pathways and opportunities to showing PBGRs is the CP core. This is comprised of 4 distinct areas: personal and professional skills, where you get things like collaboration and personal development, intercultural understanding. You get a language development component. This is not your traditional foreign language. This is specific to the career interest. If I'm a culinary student, I might study French. There's lots of French influence in culinary, etc. The third piece is service learning. So students are put into a position where they have to think about their industry in the context of helping their community. Yes?
What language do engineers speak?
Great question. Languages that do not meet the language development condition are computer programming languages. It has to be a spoken language.
Okay.
The fourth piece is the reflective project, and this is at the end of the program. This is 12th grade. You, the student, are taking all that understanding and all that learning and all that knowledge, and you're presenting through a reflective project, something that is unique to you and your industry, the mass of your work. At the Career Center, we've heard this before, right? And if there was a dime for every time someone said it, we already do these things. So yes, kind of, right? The CTE programming, yes, we're already loaded in. Pieces of that CP core, yes, we already kind of do them, but not all collectively. And we certainly don't offer to the degree and requirement the academic courses where students are in an English class thinking about English through the context of their career path, or they're thinking about business management through the context of their career path. Really, really important to see that distinction. Something that's super exciting for us, the reason kind of that we arrived here tonight. We know Middlebury, we know Addison Central is pursuing IB district-wide. We had a choice. We could be support for Addison Central and just be the Career Center, just offer the CRSs, great. Or we could reach for that fruit on the top of the tree and offer the same International Baccalaureate experience to all of the learners in the whole county and really all the learners in the whole state. And that's really exciting if we put our big sky hat on. This is an opportunity that everybody in the state can come and participate with. What does it look like? Examples. if I'm a student, I teach computer science, so we're going to start there. If I'm a student and I'm interested in computing, I take computer science over 2 years. I take my math course at the Hanford Career Center, and I take a language and literature course at the Hanford Career Center. Why Lang and Lit? Our schools, our districts, generally statewide, still have a 4-year requirement for English, right? So it makes sense for us to create that language and literature opportunity within our brick and mortar. And the CP Core course also happens at the Career Center. Similar layout, different interest for our example on the right. Theater performance, this student doesn't want to go after their certificate. Great. They don't want it, they don't see the value, fine, that's cool. They can still get the value of the offerings, right? They can still come get their English credit with us. They can still access the CP Core course. They don't have to be a certificate candidate to enroll in the CP Core course that we're building and that we will offer. 2 more examples, yes?
So I'm trying to understand it. It sounds like there's either the regular diploma path, in which case maybe you can take some classes at the Hanford Career Center, or there's this international baccalaureate path, in which case you're taking English and other stuff at the Hanford Career Center. But there's no overlap. Is that true?
There's actually quite a bit of overlap, right? So you student could get your English credit at the Career Center without being a CP candidate. If it made your day more flexible so that you could take that Career Center class that you wanted, that was in the afternoon, but your English class that you wanted was also, there's, scheduling conflicts exist all the time. So this helps to reduce a lot of those scheduling conflicts, and we found that overwhelmingly it's those classes that are required 4 times in 4 years.
But upon graduation, you get either a diploma or you get an IC.
Yeah, so right now, students graduate with a Virgin's diploma,
Okay.
or they graduate with a Virgin's diploma and a completer certificate from the Career Center, and now there would be a third choice. You get a degree from your diploma from Virgin's and your IB career-related program certificate.
And. Okay.
It's not a choice. You don't have to choose. You can get your regular diploma and get this.
So basically, they're still Virgin students.
They're still Virgin students, thank you. Thank you. They're still Mount Abe students, they're still Middlebury students.
But this means you need to build out new programs like a language and literature, like an English department that you don't have right now, or do you have it in IB?
We already have an English teacher on staff who works within our programs right now, supporting our teachers to embed English literacy in an authentic way. This lends so much more rigor to that model. It gets different. There's class now, but it lends the rigor to it. The same goes for math, the same will go for business management, etc. Okay. This slide is really exciting because it allows your students even more flexibility to achieve the certificate. There's a wonderful database of IB online programming where students don't just have to choose from the 2 or 3 academic courses that we might offer. They can access the whole IB campus online, so a student might come to us for their CTE course, their CP Core, they come back to Virgin's, they hook in, and they get their sports science IB course online, if that's their example, if that's their specific, right? We are also in communication with Middlebury to get Virgin students into Middlebury's DP courses, or Mount Abe students into Middlebury's DP courses for those students that want that face-to-face in-class experience. We don't know the details of it yet, but it seems pretty silly to not be able to access that opportunity as well. Now I've gone too far again. Questions?
Did you say DP?
Diploma.
Yes. In our IB tree at the beginning, as an 11th or 12th grade student in an IB school, you can choose a diploma program, which is much more academic looking. It's traditional high school ramped up. Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Maybe you'll get to the slide, but
we looked at the budget ramifications of all these amazing ideas?
So that question is answered a little bit in your packet.
Okay.
With the cost to the student. We don't know yet who, if we pick up that cost to the student, if Jens picks up that cost to the student, if the student picks up that cost. It's essentially like taking an AP exam where there's a fee for that exam. Great questions.
Interesting.
I went on your website last night and I was looking at your PBGRs that you, as a board, adopted in 2017. One of them is really important, it's global citizenship. It is a focus of IB education. The international mindedness of all of the things that IB pushes and believes in and assesses are totally authentically embedded throughout the whole program, which is really cool. So PBGR, global citizenship, check. PBGR, transferable skill, check. In the CP Core course, we saw those personal professional skills, language development, service learning, reflective project. All those 4 components will have the IB approaches to teaching and approaches to learning, which are outlined here and in your packet, authentically embedded. I went to approaches to teaching and approaches to learning training in Houston last spring, and it was mesmerizing to see and feel and be taught the strategies to implement these simple things in an authentic manner that is engaging for students, and you watch them come out as little adults, which is what they're supposed to be. Well, I mean, they're full grown, but the other thing that it does for us in our PBGR world, where we're not assessing on a 100-point scale anymore, or we shouldn't be, we get to extending on that learning scale, right? Our 11th graders and 12th graders are now doing college level work. They're doing industry level work in their high school programming. They're writing business plans. And when they graduate high school, they're starting businesses with the plans that they wrote, which is really cool. So we get to that 4 on the proficiency scale really, really simply. It's not because you got 10 questions correct. It's because those 10 questions were super difficult and you nailed them. You did it with your project. If we want our students to say that they're confident, that they're resilient, this is an easy way to get there. Who doesn't want this out of our students? It's in your packet. I've gone over my 5 minutes. Where we are right now, we are conducting our feasibility study. It's due before October 1st. There's 2 years after that to get to the application for authorization. End of the day, we're looking at graduating class 2024 being the first IBCP certificate earning students of Addison County. Not that far away. Sorry? This year's 8th graders, thank you. If you're like me, I'm going to take 30 more seconds on a personal note. If you're like me, you were reading the paper a couple years ago and you're like, oh man, IB, look at this Kool-Aid coming down the pike, right? Felt the same way. I had a dinner party with a central office representative from Addison Central, and I was skeptical. Why? It's AP. It's AP. The career program is not the same as the rest of the IB that we've read about in the paper. Okay? It's so totally, completely different. Within the first hour of a training that I went to in Denver on understanding the CP, it was crystal clear that 1, this opportunity needed to come to our students in the county. 2, it had to do so through the Career Center so that 3, it could get to all of the students, right? This isn't AP in the sense that it's only for high flyers. It's not the diploma program in the sense that it's only for high flyers. This thing accesses every single learner because it's interesting to them. They're studying the thing that they're into, and they're doing it in a way that they get, that works for them. The learning strategies work for them. And they come out with this world-recognized certificate. Whew. It's awesome. So that's my jazz. And I'm going to turn the floor over so that you can help us get there. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Jake has set the stage for part of the reason why we're looking at our mission and vision statement. When I first came on board, the question was, how do we fit into Addison County? What is the Career Center's role, and how can we make connections with all of our constituents in Addison County? And so it became clear that the key word needed to be equity, and we needed to have equitable opportunity, equitable access to all Career Center programming. And as I'm coming on board, I'm hearing all about what Addison Central is doing with IB. And so I did a little research as well as talking with Jake to find out what opportunities or options we had. And as Jake said, we represent the 17 towns, who we are, the 17 towns of Addison County. We serve students from all of those. We also serve students from outside of Addison County, whether that's Windsor County, or whether it's Chittenden County, or whether it's Rutland County. And students from those attend our Career Center programs as well. And so we decided that we needed to really do a reflective, introspective look at the Career Center and how we're connecting with folks, our constituents. And so that's what we're doing. That's who we are and who we want to be. And we want to make sure that we involve everybody in Addison County as we look at our mission and our vision. And we realized pretty early on that we had a mission statement, but we really didn't have a vision statement, and we're going to be building that this year with the help of everyone around there. So just to let people know, we are technically called the Patricia A. Hannaford Regional Technical School District. That's why there is a superintendent at the helm of the Career Center. We have 13 technical programs and 4 pre-tech programs, and 2 pre-tech programs are mirrored here at Virgins. So we've had a long-standing partnership with Virgins with respect to pre-tech. Last year we piloted having access to more students for programs that aren't offered here. And this year, thanks to a coordinated effort with all of the administration around Addison County, we have one consistent schedule to allow greater access. We also provide adult education for all of Addison County and beyond. And we've recently introduced the Makery, which is our Thursday evening opportunity for adults and others to come and explore. It's a place for people to imagine, experiment, network, collaborate, and create personal and professional growth. Some quick facts. I already mentioned we have 13 secondary programs, and in those programs we have, is anybody familiar with the programs that we have at the Career Center? Yes? Great. What programs are you familiar with? Medical professions? Yep. Great.
Art and design.
Yep. Art and design. Design illustration. That's wonderful. We have 13 of those programs, and we just added to them, we reintroduced our construction technology program, and Jake mentioned computer science that was introduced last year. So we have a couple of quick facts. In the fall of 2017, we served 278 students. In the fall of 2018, we served 347 students, and this year we're projected to serve over 410 students in Addison County. And we were very pleased with our relationship with the high schools that send their students. Co-op opportunities between 60 and 80 per year, where students are actually placed in industry and do work for a portion of their time with us. Our open house attendance has ballooned over the last 2 years to over 400 in February of 18 and 400 in February of 19, and we're looking forward to continuing that trend. Previously we had 150 or so we've tripled our exposure. Evening programs for adult ed include welding, basic carpentry, Google Suite of Tools. We introduced most recently a phlebotomy course, and we have LNA licensing as well as other certificates that people can earn. We've partnered with the Vermont Adult Learning and the United Way to offer the Vermont Youth Works program. That's now a year-round program. We offer a summer section and then two semesters in the during the school year, and that happens concurrently with our secondary program. And then the Makery is open from 5 to 9. We have 3 labs currently open, and we're hoping to add to that. Collaboration with our sending, 3 sending districts. Last year, we had monthly administrative meetings throughout 2018-19, and those meetings rotated from school to school. And I'd like to compliment Stephanie again for hosting us several times and for all of the great collaboration that occurred as a result of the administrators from each one of the sending towns getting together and working on some common problems. We did collaboration on scheduling, proficiency tracking, and reporting, programming, acceptance criteria, and professional development days. And we'll be continuing that work this year. In fact, we have already set the schedule thanks to, once again, Jay Stetzel from Virgins, who helped guide us to setting that whole schedule for the 2020 school year, and we'll be inviting school counselors as appropriate to the admin discussion so that they can be more involved in the global discussion about how we serve all of the students in Addison County and how the Career Center can play a key role in that. And then finally we have, we're partnering with each sending school on at least one project related to student learning opportunities. That may be, Jake has mentioned it, proficiency-based graduation requirements. It could be proficiency grading. It could be safety and security. It could be personal learning plans, integrated academics, transferable skills, and a variety of other things. And the fact of the matter is there are probably 2 or 3 that we're working on with each school independently. The goal will be over a couple of years to have those all synergize and synchronize. So we're really excited about that. And I guess the administrators of the county are, because they've already signed up for 10 more months of meetings. So, I'll turn it over to Kim Farnum, who will talk a little bit about our school board work. Oh, yes.
What's Vermont Youth Works?
Vermont Youth Works is a partnership with Vermont Adult Learning and with the United Way, and we offer training in 3 areas. We offer employability skills training, we offer academic training, and we offer technical training housed at the Career Center. And we have a cohort of as many as 12 students in each one of those 3 sessions. So each session, except for the summer one, which is more intensive, lasts 8 weeks. And so during those 8 weeks, they will go through the same type of exposure that we provide at the Career Center, but they have a 4-hour day every day as part of that program. And so we have some of our staff, as well as the Vermont Adult Ed staff, as well as some folks from United Way who are helping us to run that program. But we house it at the Career Center.
Vermont Youth Works, but it sounds like it's adults. So I'm just a little confused.
What it will take on students between the ages of 18 and 24
Okay.
who are underemployed. They have an application process, and they can be part of that. If you happen to have students, we've had students during the summer who have been enrolled in 11th or 12th grade and who are interested and they would qualify, so they can actually participate in this program concurrently with being a Career Center student or a high school junior or senior.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Again, my name is Kim Farnum. I happen to live in New Haven, pretty close. Anyway, but I'm the community at large member for Mount Abe School District, and very gladly serve in that capacity. And as you know, as you go through all your policies, they need to be revised off and on. So we hit the mission statement and said, need some work, and need some work. It happens to be part of this application process that Jake introduced, and will be for the Perkins Grant and a few others, I'm sure, down the line. So, and then we realized we didn't have a vision statement either. So looking at that, saying, really need community input. Obviously, that's part of our visit here. We're going to do the same in Middlebury and then at Mount Abe. And during the course of the school year, we'd really like to come and actually have a meeting here. We invite you to go to another meeting during the course of a month and sit and watch how our board works. We do operate under policy governance, just for your own personal information. Pretty much everything's there. I know you can read. I'm not going to go through all of that. I'm going to cut my time a little bit short. But as a parent whose daughter graduated from Mount Abe and from the Career Center, she is a graphic designer. She works in Manhattan. She had a job after going to Drexel University in 2 weeks. And every program she learned at the Career Center was job ready. And the relationship that we have, which isn't in any of your packet, with the alumni, at our institution is phenomenal. They love our school, they come back, they meet with teachers on a regular basis during their vacations and share those thoughts and dreams. I can't say that about my kid's relationship with Mount Abe. It's just personal opinion. My son, he's a painter in the county, working very successfully, went to adult learning and took a course in basic carpentry, found that very valuable, had to read blueprints, all of those basic things. The reintroduction of the construction course right now, which was eliminated a few years ago due to lack of interest, has been brought on by a lot of our board members, which represent the community. And I don't know if a lot of people, the structure of our board is a little bit different. So that we do have those people out there saying, look, we need workers in this area or whatever. So that helps us along. So that mission statement's going to be really big. We appreciate your support. We're going to ask you to kind of go through an exercise that Suzanne Buck, our chairman's going to walk you through to help us get some ideas about what that vision and mission statement should look like. Thank you.
So as Kim said, my name is Suzanne Buck, and I live in Bridgeport, and I also serve on the Addison Central Supervisory School Board. I'm their board clerk, so I get to take their minutes. But on this board, I've had the wonderful opportunity to be elected as their chair, maybe because nobody else wanted it, and I got it. But the Career Center is important to all students, not just students that are headed off to college, because of the courses and the soft skills that the Career Center does teach. As Kim said, we do have a lot of board work on our plate, and this year we are working on our mission and our vision statement, and it was kind of surprising to find out that we had a rather old mission statement and no vision statement. And so we're like, your vision is what drives you, so you need to have both. So that's what we're going to be working on this year, and it's also part of our Perkins funding that we receive. Perkins 5 was about 2 years ago, it was reauthorized, and as part of that, it requires that your career technical centers actually reach out to the community and engage with their community. You can no longer just be a tech center and kind of ignore the community. It's required that you actually have a plan in place to reach your community. So that being said, that kind of gave us a little more impetus for our 4-word exercise. So in trying to figure out what's important to all of our communities, we figured the easiest place to start was with the local school boards from the sending schools. Realizing that there are 17 schools that we accept students from, it's going to be hard to reach all 17 individual towns, so we're starting with school boards. So what we'd like you to do, and your school board members here have either a yellow or a bright pink card, is to put down 4 words. It can be a phrase. I'm not going to limit you to exactly 4 words. Okay. Yep. Of what the Career Center means to you. And my friends over here have told me that I can't give you any pointers. I can't give you any hints. But I will give you this one example. So I'm a graduate of UNH. So if I did UNH, I would say alumni, I would say agriculture, I would say research, and I would say what a land grant university. It holds all pieces for land grant. So those would be my words, but I would like to know what you think of when you think of the Career Center. What 4 words or 5 words come to mind? Possibly not a book, though. Look, there's one right underneath your computer. It's bright pink.
Took yours.
Do you need? Oh,
No,
that
he
one, okay.
had mine. He stole mine.
Who wants to write where we're from on here?
You don't know. If you would like us to know who wrote it.
I just wondered if you were trying to capture all
I'm
17
thinking.
towns.
Oh, actually, I do have a spare.
Entirely up to you.
I'm like a proctor here. Thanks.
Thanks.
My son wants to take, he's a junior this year, next year is a senior. Looking forward to that. Just a bunch of other stuff.
Right, right. That's the biggest thing the CP program can do over budgets is reducing those barriers to take up things. That can happen. They can still stay. They're working toward greater endorsement.
That's what I was trying to get at. So he's taking like 18 out this year, German 3, and a bunch of other stuff. But it only takes 1 year. Stuff like Hannaford, because
It's hotter in
do
here.
it all. It doesn't. It
We have
sounds
an air
like
conditioner.
So our next folks, thank you for the presentation. There's lots of really exciting work going on. We look forward to hearing how it develops. Our next order of business is Elizabeth and Sheila will be doing board training on fiduciary responsibilities and Robert rules. What's that?
Reviewing some information I can find in the past.
Yep.
So, do you want me to drive?
Are you comfortable?
We don't have one of those fancy clickers.
You mean one of those things that doesn't work?
I'll try it, see if I can do it. Yeah, pretty much that. So I have it printed out also in front of me, but it might actually be easier even for me to read off the screen. So this is not a presentation that I created myself. This is something that we've had for a couple of years, and I believe it was originally presented to us by Nicole Mace. And so I'll just kind of go through, and if you want to stop me along the way, you can ask questions. And also, I believe as you go through this from just looking at it myself, a lot of the questions I was thinking of or things I was thinking of explaining and stopping along the way, as you get through the presentation, they kind of answer your questions towards the end. So it might be better just to wait until the whole thing is done. So meeting the school board's financial oversight responsibility. How a board fulfills its fiduciary responsibility. Create a culture that assures focused and responsible management of financial resources within the district. Establish policy related to budgeting and financial oversight. Propose a budget and assure approval by the electorate. Assure adequate internal controls have been put in place by the administration. Conduct financial monitoring and be a good consumer of the audit. That one kind of made me chuckle a little. And if I want to consume an audit. Ensuring focused and responsible management. Pay attention. Be clear that this is important. Failure to pay attention to finances can undermine your fundamental mission and make it difficult to focus on education. The legal responsibilities of your board. Duty of care, act in good faith and exercise reasonable care and due diligence. Duty of loyalty, avoid conflicts of interest, act in good faith with the interest of the institution in mind. Duty of obedience, ensure that the institution's resources are dedicated to the fulfillment of your mission. Establish policy related to the budgeting and financial oversight. So this is kind of how they start walking through more detail on each of these items. Board policy, model policy F20, which we all have. Authority of the superintendent to spend dollars on behalf of the school district. Necessity for regular flow of information. The doctrine of no surprises. Guidance on financial reporting to the board. Necessity of system appropriate internal controls and clarity on approval of orders. A regular audit and asset protection. propose a budget and assure approval by the electorate. Part of annual planning process reflects priorities of the district, establish parameters of overall budget, student-teacher and student-staff ratios, partnership and working back and forth with the administration. Board sets policy, but doesn't micromanage the line items. Create ample opportunities for community input and information during the development process and in advance of the district meeting. Assure adequate internal controls have been put in place by the administration. Internal controls. The non-technical definition, internal controls are a system of checks and balances implemented to prevent improprieties, theft, and to allow human errors to be found and corrected timely, preventing financial misstatement. No two systems of internal controls are identical, but many core philosophies regarding financial integrity and accounting practices have become standard management practices. Internal control consists of all the related methods and measures adopted within a business in order to safeguard your assets from employee theft, robbery, and unauthorized use, enhance the accuracy and reliability of its accounting records by reducing the risk of errors, unintentional mistakes, and irregularities, intentional mistakes, and misrepresentations in the accounting process. The school board's role in the internal control is to expect establishment of the internal controls by the administration, assure an effective system to approve orders, assure completion of the annual checklist, which we have on our board plan. State law requires annual internal controls report. This is what I was indicating. Title 16, VSA, Section 242A, the internal financial controls. The superintendent or his or her designee shall annually, on or before December 31st, complete and provide to the supervisory union board or to the school district board and to all member districts boards a copy of the document regarding internal financial controls made available by the auditor of accounts pursuant to 32 VSA section 163.11. Conducting financial monitoring. The board provides a high level of oversight. They review actuals versus your budget. They understand material variances and any issues that would place the district or its finances in jeopardy. They ensure administration has plans in place to address any concerns. Being a good consumer of the annual audit. So we see here it doesn't mean eating your audit. Understand the scope of services provided by the audit. Expect a report from the auditor and schedule a board discussion of the report. Read in full the auditor's letter, opinion and management discussion, and analysis, as well as notes. And all those pieces are traditionally in your whole entire audit packet. If board members have any questions, invite the auditor to meet with the board directly, and we traditionally always invite our auditors to come and meet with us just to kind of be here and be able to answer questions on the fly and kind of go through the audit and anything that might be special to be stated after it's complete. Questions? Does anybody see anything in here that was unfamiliar? Yes, Lori?
Can you describe what you mean by asset protection?
Asset protection is, well, first of all, part of asset protection is making sure that you have everything documented that you own. So, you know, it's not just asset protection, it's asset tracking, making sure that you are documenting what you've purchased, what has been donated to you, maybe your buildings, your structures, all of the equipment, furniture, fixtures, everything that's in your buildings, what you possess. If you don't track it, you won't know when it's missing necessarily. So if something comes up missing or if it ends up damaged. So basically it's making sure that your money that's going into the assets you're purchasing is well kept and being tracked and that it does not depreciate or disappear.
And how are we doing on that?
We're doing well.
Are we?
We have good tracking of our
Good
assets.
list?
Yep. We update it every 6 months.
First time
We've
in
had it
this
for
last couple of years.
the last couple of years. Yep.
At the most.
I think when we actually went in and dug in to try to find it was the first year I was here, and I discovered we didn't have much of a list. So I went searching.
So
and
we are now in compliance with policy.
Yes, we are. And that's as of, so that was during your audit for FY17. I wasn't here till FY18, but we were doing the audit for that year at that time. So it was probably about like October of 17 that we developed the list. Actually did a physical inventory of everything we had, got information about all your buildings, you know, your square footage, all the furniture fixtures that are in them. So it was a pretty intensive study, all ramping up to try to get that audit done. And we've been tracking it ever since. And we track it based on purchasing. We actually look it up in the system, see what we've purchased, go pull all of those items, those invoices, document the serial numbers, and all of that, and then do another inventory to make sure that we know where all of those items are actually physically located.
And on current purchases, how do you determine what is capitalized and put on the list and what isn't?
So the rule is, according to our policy, and it's pretty common, that it's $5,000 per item, and it's not individualized. It's not by purchase. So if you buy 10 computers and they cost $10,000, well, that's not necessarily a capitalizable item. So sometimes we have to hunt and peck. Our coding system is such that we have one particular code that is used when you're purchasing something that's going to cost $5,000 or more, and we try to make sure that everything we see coming through the purchasing is hitting that code if that's what the cost is. But we also at the same time recognize that we can't catch everything, so we do an analysis on some of the other codes where those things could show up if they didn't end up in that code, and double check to make sure we're not missing anything that was purchased during the year. And we update it every 6 months so that we're not waiting until the audit is happening to make sure we know where all those items are.
Asset protection, FDIC insurance, only, it caps out at 250 or 300, I can't remember now.
The cap keeps
so
on
how
changing.
how do we deal with cash over the FDIC limit?
Well, we have, not all of our cash is in the same place for the most part. We actually have sweep accounts that are set up behind the scenes that are all built into our banking. So we're protected a little bit higher than the traditional FDIC. But ultimately, we also have to have collateralization agreements between us and the bank that we use. And we do have those, and they send us a statement every month that confirms how much we are insured up to and collateralized for. Basically collateralizing against what you own, all the rest of your assets. You know, your cash is collateralized against what you own, your buildings, all of your assets, to insure us further than the FDIC.
The banks do?
Yes, the bank actually sends us the report of what our collateralization is every month, and we have to show that to our auditors at the end of the year.
Thank you.
So, Robert's rules. Thank you.
So we were laughing because we're both doing presentations that are not ours.
Are not
so this
ours.
is something that Ms. Nicole Mace also brought to you. And I am not the expert on Robert's rules. In fact, if any of you feel that you are, I would invite you to take over here because I'm not a board member, and I think that this board does a pretty good job in general following this, and I think for the most part our meetings flow in a pretty predictable fashion so that it's easy to follow. It's when we get tangled up in some decision or there's multiple motions on the table where we have to go back to the rule book. Fortunately, Bill Clark is actually really good at this, and he'll be happy to answer questions at a future meeting. I'm just going to go over the basics because annually we want to sort of recommit to these rules and how we conduct board meetings in accordance to these rules. This is a cheat sheet that I always keep in my binder because it's a quicker and easier way to remember how you do something when you're in a meeting. How do you get something to move forward? But this slideshow doesn't mirror necessarily what you have in front of you. So there are 5 principles of Robert's Rules. And essentially what they're designed for is to make sure that there's equity in a meeting and that everyone has the opportunity to have their voice be heard and that you're able to make decisions having considered what everyone has to say about a topic. That's primarily the reason why we follow these rules in a board meeting. So the 5 basic principles are only one topic can have the board's attention at a time. Each proposal being presented for consideration is entitled to a full debate. Every board member has equal voice, equal weight in that discussion, and that the majority majority will of the board must be carried out. And then a reminder that the personality and desires of an individual needs to be sort of merged into this consideration of the larger organization as a whole, that you're serving as a board member when you're making these decisions. This may keep happening, and in which case I may just read through them without you being able to see, because that has happened now 3 or 4 times. There we go. So how do you do that? You do that through motions. Yeah. You know this, but the chair calls for a motion, or a board member signifies to the chair that he or she would like to make a motion, and after being recognized by the chair, that board member may offer the motion with an explanation or remarks as necessary. Then you, after the motion has been seconded, you can enter into a discussion on that. Any member has the right to discuss the motion after being recognized by the chair, and it's the chair's role to make sure that all those voices are heard then in consideration of the motion on the table. When all members have had the opportunity to discuss the motion, the chair may call for a vote, and you signify your agreement through saying aye, and then you announce the outcome. When it flows this nicely, there's no question, right? It's when it's not quite that easy. Can you amend a motion? There are several ways to amend. We've seen this come up a few times. There's a motion on the table, and then we want to make an amendment to it. This sort of details how you might amend that agenda, that motion. You can add something, insert something into the motion. You can strike or eliminate something from the motion. You can substitute something else entirely. So there are just rules about that you must follow in order to proceed. I was just noticing that third bullet, and I am not going to speak to that because I actually don't even understand it. An amendment may be hostile, must be germane. Any guesses?
Maybe something against what the amendment, what the motion was originally intended for. It might be an amendment that really cuts out teeth.
Yeah.
But as long as it's related to the original motion, you can make that call for an amendment.
I might have chosen a different word besides hostile. Contradicts even maybe.
But it does have to be related to the
topic.
original.
Right. Because you can only consider one topic at a time, and that's the topic that you're considering in that moment. So, how are multiple amendments handled? There are 2 ranks of amendments: first rank amendment and second rank amendments. And there's an order to how you must vote on those. The discussion is held and the vote is taken first on the second rank amendment. Discussion is called for and the vote is taken on the first rank amendment. And when the vote on these have been taken, the discussion of the original or main motion is amended, is open. And then the vote is taken on the main motion. And this is where, to me, it gets very tangled, and we have to go back to the rule books. This is the situations that I can recall where we get a little tangled up in this. And usually there's someone in the room that remembers how to proceed in these instances. Are there questions about this particular aspect?
Well, one other way to do it is just to withdraw your original motion and start again.
Mm-hmm.
This is a sidebar, but you should all have the book, right, the rule book. And I was wondering, Keith, if you got one when you came on board as a new board member, because it's our practice to pardon me?
All I have is
So we'll order you a copy of the book just to have on hand, but the Cliff Notes that I just shared are actually even more useful. Common motions and what they mean. Postpone indefinitely. This tactic is used to kill a motion. When passed, the motion cannot be reintroduced at that meeting, but it can be reintroduced at a later date. Majority vote is required. Table. To table a discussion is to lay it aside, and you might bring it up at a future meeting. A majority vote is required to table a discussion. And a question. The question is called after the discussion has ensued. That's another way to bring the issue forward. So I call the question, and then you hold the vote, and it has to be majority passed.
That's something that is, it's difficult because you actually, when you do that, you cut off debate. It just stops it right there. You can't say anything more. You just got to vote.
That's why it needs a 2/3 majority to
Yeah.
pass it.
I've not really seen that come up much in your group. It seems you're generally in sync when you're ready to call the question. But that's just been my experience in my limited time. Okay, what if we have multiple motions? The most recent motion takes precedent over the ones preceding it. For example, the main motion, I move we adopt Robert's Rules of Order for small boards. Second motion, I move that we amend the main motion by striking "we" and replacing it with the Winooski School Board. Second motion, number 2, I move that we postpone this action until our next meeting so that the superintendent can consult with the VSBA. Discussion and vote on motion number 2 must be voted on before motion number 1 can be decided in this case.
And then you do one, and then you do the main.
Yep.
That's two.
Yeah, right.
Right. What is Robert's Rules for small boards? Members are not required to stand before making motions or speaking. Motions need not be seconded. We usually do. There's no limit to the number of times a member can speak to a question, and motions to close or limit debate generally need not be entertained. Informal discussions of a subject is permitted while no motion is pending. And the chair can speak in discussion without rising or leaving the chair, and subject to rule or custom within the particular board.
Are we under Robert's rules for small boards?
Yes.
So we don't need seconds?
But we usually do.
Right?
That's a very interesting.
It's like 10 to 12 is a small board, so you can go either way. I mean, in committee meetings, we tend to go by small board rules, but we tend to go by bigger board rules here. Except
Here
we
in
don't
the big
stand
board.
up, and we don't lay our
Right.
swords down before we, you know.
Right.
So back when I was on the high school board for the consolidation, consolidation, I had a motion and it didn't get a second and it failed. If I had known, I think I might have done something different.
Well, it's also based on how the board expect seconds. So even if you're under a small board, if that's our standard, that's still what you're going to go by. That's the norm. And the second.
But if we've adopted rules for small boards, we don't have to. So that's a little confusing.
But if a motion doesn't get a second, then it sounds to me like the majority of the board isn't interested in pursuing it, so it should be dropped. If nobody will even second the motion to bring it into discussion,
But
right?
what's the point of having the small board rules if we don't use them? Doesn't make
I
any
don't think we're a
sense.
small board. I don't think we have agreed to that. I think we've only agreed to be Robert's Rules of Order newly revised. It's not in any policy that we are a small board.
I didn't.
But we don't follow the big board rules of rising before we speak and things like that, so we're kind of a mix between the two.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Is this something you would
Point
like
of order.
to make a formal decision about at some point? Do you want more information, and do you want to make a decision about that.
I think we're doing fine the way we are.
Which is without clarity.
Yep.
Why
I
don't,
think it's probably worth determining exactly how you want to proceed with that. That's my 2 cents. Because you don't want something to retroactively say, well, had they, decided to operate this way or that way, that could have turned out differently. That's not good. That's not good for any of us.
I think I will, I've written down in my notes is actually something to bring back to Sue, and then you and Sue, when you're determining an agenda, can put that down as a short discussion item that we can then come back to.
It's in A20. If you're writing notes, A20.
Where we accept Robert's rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions? Can go to full base.
Not anymore.
Yeah, not for much longer.
It'll be a little bit
In the
difficult.
next couple of weeks. But we can bring that back if you want to talk about it further. Yeah. All right. That's my thing.
Can I just make a comment about chairman as opposed to chair? We got Madam Chairman in your notes. Sue.
In my notes?
Yeah,
In the
and your
full
little
slides?
sheet, it says Madam Chairman. I just don't understand that.
I think it's straight out of Roberts, so.
It's in
It
Roberts?
was out of Roberts.
I would,
They
that
say
is.
chairman all the way.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Maybe in the next edition it will be.
Maybe.
The newly
Maybe I should
it-
complain. Chair, yeah, chair.
So, we're running a little behind, but thank you for the reminders of our fiduciary responsibilities. I appreciate in particular the line that says pay attention, because I think that's really important, and as well as the questions about how we run our run the meetings. The next order of business is board and committee reports. We have 2 reports to listen to briefly. One, or hopefully briefly, one is from the negotiations committee update. So if either Mark or George could give us a brief.
We have come to a tentative agreement with the teachers union, and we will be talking about that later in executive session, and then we'll have to vote to either ratify or not.
Any questions regarding that? Great. Okay. Second, Elizabeth has a report for us, which we should have received you should have received in your board packet a couple days ago. So, do you have anything you want to say?
So one of the approval items for on the agenda, and it's noted in the bottom section, but just to kind of go through it out loud, we were not able to run full financial reports for you guys this round. We're still in the middle of reconciling and trying to close everything out. And at the time I was writing this, we were doing our annual statistical reports and trying to get those out the door on time for the deadline. But we did run balance sheets because we felt like we had enough reconciliations and enough data to be able to at least give you an estimated fund balance on the general fund. So you'll note that is in the report. And I kind of walked you through how the fund balance has transitioned in the last couple of years, what we use the money for, that kind of information. Right after sending out this report, I received notification that we had a denial on a worksheet B, student for special education and their costs. That actually affects our general fund bottom line by approximately $22,000. So that is a new addition to this. That brings you down another $22,000 beyond what I estimated in paragraph 3 as being $122,803 in the general fund. There again, it's unaudited. It's preliminary. We are still reconciling. This particular case was one that we knew was possibly coming down the pike. We appealed the denial, and we're hoping that we were going to be successful in that appeal, but they denied the appeal also, and so we will not be getting that revenue and it was accrued into our fiscal year 19 figures already. So we'll be adjusting that. And then the piece about the food service program. So in my report, I wrote good news. Our expenditures remained below our budget for the entire fiscal year. However, our bad news is we did not generate enough revenue to cover the expenses we budgeted or spent in the program. So if that does that make sense to people? You know, we budgeted a certain amount of expenditures and a certain amount of revenue to match that. We stayed below our expenditure budget, but didn't bring in enough revenue to even cover what we actually did end up spending. There is still a few more things we're kind of researching, but they're small dollar amounts. So even if they come into fruition, they're not going to save us from having a deficit in the current FY19 year end. I walked you through what our deficit was before. I talked about how we funded that this year. This deficit is approximately $27,000 less than what our loss was for the program in the previous year, FY18. So if we look at in comparison, we did make progress and steps towards reducing costs, increasing revenue, getting closer to that break even than we did last year. The dollar amount we're looking at is substantially less. I've got it quoted here as $52,037. I said I believe that Kathy, who's here tonight, did a great job in her attempts to mitigate the losses. This year, she has plans to raise our student lunch rate at VUHS to $3.25. That's to line up with the other district, Mount Abraham. And previously it was $3, so it's not a huge hike, but it is something that will help us. And also it's planned to increase our catering sales. So I wanted to kind of write it in here also to give a shout out again, and I think I've said this before, to everyone in the district to use our own food service program when we need food for an event, for a meeting, or anything even that we can think of that's out in our community that might be going on, and get them connected with Kathy to be able to generate some more revenue for our own program, because that helps our program. And basically we are asking that we use the general fund dollars to fund that $52,000. My recommendation would be to approve it in a manner that says up to a certain amount, just so that it's not the exact dollar figure, just to make sure, since we're not 100% done reconciling. I believe if anything it'll go down slightly from that dollar figure, so you could approve up to the dollar amount that I have quoted here. And at the very end of this, I said that leaves our general fund with $70,766. That is going to be $22,000 less because of what I just spoke about in special education. So that's the addition I have to my report.
Are there any questions? Yeah.
I'm sorry, so it went from 70-something down 22 to
48 after you fund the food service. That's what will be left after you fund the food service deficit. And there are no other funds that have deficits in them at year end, FY19.
So this, although it is unaudited, you feel fairly confident about this 48-ish?
Yeah, because we've gone through most everything. So it's unfortunate that the 22,000 came in, after the fact.
Right.
But we were thinking it might drag out a little longer than that, that we might not even know the answer until, the fall or something, which would be when our audit was already closed. So
It's better not to have to.
I wouldn't have even run the reports if I didn't feel like they were good numbers.
Right.
I would have said, sorry, I can't provide anything.
Lori?
Can we know how, I know this is only 2 years, Kathy. Do we have a comparison for how we're doing in comparison to Mount Abe? Is Mount Abe having to kick in as much? Like, what are we doing different? What are we doing the same?
So it's a good question.
Could you, thanks, sorry.
Mount Abe is having the same difficulty with two things. One, I think a lot of the lack of revenue that results in A deficit has to do with the reduction in our, the numbers of students qualifying for free meals. And we're seeing the same issue at the Mount Abe district. And while that's a good thing, because maybe it means that our communities are less poor, it's impacting our programs negatively because we're not getting full federal dollars, which are quite high compared to what we charge for meals. So that's why it's a significant gap between what we charge and what we get from the federal government. So when we don't have that opportunity, because we don't have students qualifying for free meals, while it's good for students, potentially, we still see students right on the edge and not being able to pay. So we've seen the exact same thing in Mount Abe, and we had, for the first time in the last 2 years, we've had quite a large unpaid debt and a school food service deficit in both districts. So we had 3 years of running in the black at Mount Abe and 2 years of running in the red for this exact same thing.
Is there any thoughts on improving that? I mean, like, are we getting out to students? I mean,
It's not exactly, our participation rates are high, but we have a limit as to how much we can charge families for meals. And as you can see from the unpaid debt, families are already struggling to pay the price that we're charging. Now, we've increased the price to $3.25 at the high school. We were required to increase the price a certain amount by the federal government because every year we have to do a calculation that helps us determine how to stay pretty much as solvent as possible. So we have to stay close to $3 per meal cost for parents. So what we've done is not increase the elementary school, which is now $2.85, but take a bigger hike at the high school because, in fact, we're offering a lot more food at the high school, and our labor costs are a little higher, so that makes sense. So we will see a little bump when we do that. It's gonna, if we have exactly the same participation, that should result in about $17,000 in additional revenue. And we will continue to try to boost participation, so hopefully it'll be a little bit more. We're also trying to work on catering and do more catering after school meals or supper meals for teachers or community members who want to take them home. So we're working on that and just being available as much as we can and just stretching our staff and our labor hours. And we're working on a few expense reduction strategies, but to be honest with you, it's pretty tight right now. We have not increased our food budget at all. We were right on target with our food budget. The health insurance did go up, and we expect it to go up significantly next year. That is in the budget, but there's nothing I can do about that. But we're doing a few things with staffing that could result in some small improvements in expenses. So,
are you going to do any advertising for the catering?
Yeah, we have a new catering menu. It's going out to everybody. It'll be on our website. We'll send it out. I mean, I have to be a little careful about that because while I want to raise revenue, I don't want to stretch my staff so thin that they're not doing a good job for students. So, it's a little delicate balancing act because we're here for kids.
Right.
And that is not, I want to make sure that's understood and that we really understand it. But to the extent that we can best utilize our time within kitchens and our talents at making delicious food, we really want to do that. So I'll advertise, but I'm not putting an ad in the Addison Independent.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
So my family had a $10 deficit for most of about 6 months, and I was like, I'd get an email and I'd say, I need to send this in, and I'd get an email and I needed to send it in. And I did, but it was, June.
Yeah.
Is there a sense that there's a problem with the collection? I mean,
Yeah,
are there
we-
ways that it can be improved, or?
Yeah, we're working on a couple things. So we did have some issues this year that we think we've resolved. A lot of people's emails went to spam.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that was an issue. We got to the bottom of it. We have addressed it. I mean, we've talked to hundreds of people about it and tried to help people know how to change that in their own programs, because it's not something on our end. It happens on the receiver end of things, and you have to, allow our emails to come through. So we worked on that a lot. This is hours and hours of time spent doing that. And then we did 3 mailings at the end of the year that were also pretty labor intensive, but they did result in getting lots of, we got money back. We got about $2,500, I think.
That was just July alone?
Yeah, it was just in July, so there might be more.
There's more.
At the end of the year. So we're working on it, but again, it's a balance of where do we spend our time?
Sure.
Supporting staff to cook and get meals out, training staff, getting money, it's all kind of a balancing act. And we are also looking at investing. It's going to cost us something, but I think it's a sound investment in an online application process for free and reduced meals, so that families can actually apply online. So that hopefully we'll have that up and running in 2 weeks. 2 to 3 weeks, if the company can meet that need. I think that'll help, at least try to capture as many people as we can.
And payment methods, PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
blah.
we have that through the secure, it's called it's not My School Box, that's my name. Here it's My Mealtime, thank you. So that's how people can pay
they can.
with credit cards. I think we don't want to be in a position of handling credit cards in the schools for a bunch of reasons that I'm sure you're familiar with.
Oh, yeah.
So, but that is how people can pay with credit cards, and
Thank you.
it's not perfect, but yeah.
The per diem system, or the students' monthly program or weekly program, how does that actually function?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Does the student pay every day he buys lunch, or
Oh,
to buy
no.
a blanket?
We prefer for people to pay ahead in advance, and our program really operates on a debit system. So we have an online system, or we have a point of sale system. Students can pay ahead, and then their meals are deducted. That's our favorite scenario. And then very few students pay daily. Most students will pay ahead, and then there's a gap between, once they get to zero, we see a little gap of $20 to $50, and then they'll remember to pay again. Parents will remember to pay again, and then they'll pay maybe $100, and that's kind of how it goes.
But can you
Does that make
forecast
sense?
accurately how many students will eat next Tuesday or a month from Wednesday?
Do we forecast accurately? Yeah, I think we do a pretty good job. I mean, we have production records daily that we keep track of, and so we actually can track our meals and participation, and we base it on what we're serving that day. We eliminate things that have low participation overall as we progress every year in our menu development, and so we know, grilled cheese day we'll know is higher than some other day, so we're aware of that.
So are there any other questions for Elizabeth or Kathy?
Thanks for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Really.
I'm sorry the news is not great, but
Better than it used to be. That's right.
Way better than it
Way
used to be.
better.
There is no chair report, but I did want to say 3 things. One, to the board, I wanted to please remind you all to fill out the superintendent evaluation that's due for by the surveys closing on Wednesday, and only about half of us have done it, so please I'm reminding you. Yes?
Is there a new version? I thought it was sent out and then
I think
recalled.
she sent it immediately.
The new
Yeah.
version came out
It says
an hour or 2
corrected.
later.
Okay.
I did it as soon as I got it, because I knew I'd forget it if I didn't.
I also wanted to point out that the convocation looks great. Looks like a really good start of the semester, start of the term on Monday the 26th. I wish I could. And I also wanted to point out that the new website looks great. For all the schools. I haven't spent tons of time looking at its functionality, so there may be some things that I haven't noticed, but it in general, to me, it looks like it's working a lot. It's really helpful. So congratulations for getting that up. That was a large amount of work.
A lot of the content on the website was put there as a placeholder, so now that they're live, we're able to go in and update the content. So we know not everything is there, and we know not everything is updated, but until it went live, we couldn't start repopulating it.
Right.
They had to put stuff in there as placeholders from last year's website, so we'll get there. But if you do notice things, please don't hesitate to point them out.
It's a website's always a work in progress.
That's
so.
true.
Okay, so action items. We're only about a half an hour behind. See, you need Sue back.
I move to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Discussion? What am I supposed to say?
All those in favor? Hearing none. All those in favor?
What she said.
Aye.
Great. Can I?
All those opposed?
All those opposed? Thank you.
So carried.
So carried indeed. B.
Yes. I will move to approve board, okay, so this is, we did 2 months, June and, do you have all this, Gloria, or do you have the numbers? So just check what I'm saying. For June, accounts payable, $747,006.78. For June, student accounts, $24,687.27. And June payroll of $1,369,416.33.
You want to check those numbers? I might have
July AP is $713,185.97. July student accounts is $16,819.33. And July payroll is $1,092,814.45.
I move we approve it.
Oh, did I have it backwards? Yes,
Yeah, you
sorry.
got one. That's
It's
a
my
typo.
dyslexia.
That one
Sorry.
has a typo.
July.
Hold on.
Yes, sorry.
So,
Yes.
can you withdraw your motion?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. I'm going to correct the July accounts payable to $731,185.97.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that was the other one.
So we're all
Okay,
set.
So-
you good? So I move that we approve the.
I think she moved you.
Oh, okay, I'll
Yeah.
second that. Great.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
So just so you know, the Finance Committee had a little bit of a email. So summer payrolls are written before they're actually paid out, right? So they run August checks, July checks, and June checks, similar time period. When I went to review the payroll, there was a group of checks missing, and it was because those checks are cut in August. And we will review those checks in August with the rest of the August payroll. So that was the confusion and then also the clarification. Anyway, that's.
And it happens every year.
What's
Like
that?
that.
It'll
happens
and it happens every year that way, yeah.
So, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So the motion is carried. C, approving ongoing commitment to the monthly Front Porch Forum postings for the next 6 months. Do I hear a motion?
I move we continue doing what we've been doing. It seems like they're well received.
Second? Discussion?
The
This.
two people who write them are not here.
That's right.
So,
Yeah,
so,
I
so
was
Sue,
noting that.
I did talk to Sue about this, and she said that both she and Christina were willing to continue to do this.
Okay then.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
any other? So, hearing no further discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the motion carries. So we will continue, or we will continue to write the Front Porch Forum postings. D.
So you want a motion?
I would like a motion
Okay, so
for D.
I'll move to adopt the, well, do we adopt it?
Accept
No.
it.
Accept it? Because it needs to be
So-
warned one more time. Is that-
Because
No.
it needs to be updated annually.
So,
Because we put
the,
names actually in the policy.
Is that why,
Can we-
okay, I misunderstood, thank you.
discussion
I know.
afterwards, come on.
I'll move to accept the policy changes as written.
The update.
The policy update as written.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. So, yes, go ahead.
I noticed in section G, under harassment, the definition of harassment.
Wait. Okay.
I think we're missing a comma.
Well, this was only for the appendix, right?
This is only for the appendix, yeah.
That's what you're talking about?
So,
Oh, right.
John, what exactly is happening, or John or Sheila, what exactly is happening in this, and why are we doing this?
So the way the policy is written, the names of the people who are the designated employees referenced in this policy they're actually in the policy. And we need people come, they go, we have new people appointed. So annually, this is updated, and then you'll need to address it. So for example, Andy Capes is now the principal of Ferrisburg. So Beth Brody's name came off, Andy's name went in.
So it's just the appendix, which
Correct.
lists the
Yep.
people who are the designated officers for
Yep.
the harassment
Yep.
procedures.
Correct.
That's being updated.
Yep.
You can't just enumerate positions, in which case you wouldn't have to update it all the time.
Right, if
It
it was
seems like it-
like in a procedure. Right,
So we'd have
the
to
way
change
it's
the policy
written,
if we were gonna do something.
it's the way it's written.
Can I
so-
suggest, John, maybe, I don't know, but an adoption date on the appendix?
Well, the adoption date is led by the start of the school year. It needs
So
to be
they're gonna
public
do it every
knowledge so
year.
that it goes into all the handbooks.
So it doesn't really matter.
So, I mean, this is just, we did this last year, and we were like, okay, hey, wait, do we need to go through the whole rigmarole of a policy review? And we were like, this is just name changes. It's not a change in the substance of the policy, it's just human beings who are in the position here. And I think the superintendent should make that choice and tell us, and we approve those. And these are reasonable choices you're making. They're principals and guidance counselors. I think we should accept it.
Sure, well, we have a motion on the floor to
Okay.
accept it, yeah. Question though, John, or Sheila, the equity coordinator is not in the list, and I just wondered why we chose to exclude that one as,
We don't have someone designated as like that. It's not a title for someone in the
equity
school.
coordinator is a person responsible for implementation of Title IX.
That is
Title-
not a position that we have named in our buildings.
Substitute
Who does that
fill.
role in your school?
So we
Pete?
don't have one, we're supposed to have one?
Title IX extends well beyond athletics,
So who serves in that role in its entirety? There's not a separate person, so it's like duties under others' positions.
Well, maybe we could talk about that another time. Okay. I mean, equity is really important, and we're hearing more and more about it.
Lauren, The last sentence of F says this role may also be assigned to
May.
designated employees.
Right, yes, I
So-
got that,
So-
it hasn't been, that's my point. is,
So I think this is, if this is
The
an important
responsibilities.
issue to bring up, and I'm not saying it's not, then can you come to me afterwards and I'll put it on my list for Sue?
Yes.
Because I'm not sure this is germane to
Yes,
the,
got
the,
it.
the exact.
We're not doing anything for the
Right,
policy.
right.
Yeah, I got it.
So, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of accepting policy C10 Appendix A update, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. So I would like to entertain a motion to appoint Bradley Dewey as the school director from Panton.
Is he here?
He is.
Oh.
What, could I have a motion?
moved.
Thank you. Second? Discussion. I guess as a discussion, Bradley, could you introduce yourself to us and
My name is Brad Ewing with Command. My wife and I, our youngest daughter was part of the school for 2 years in 7th and 8th grade, about 6 or 7 years ago. I'm on the Development Review Board of the Planning Commission in Penn. I'm also on the Audit Committee. So the overlap is a little bit, Dave Raphael's wife was on the committee here, so chatted with her. My background is financial analysis, so I figured I could probably help out in that way. We do not currently have daughters in the system here. They're both grown up, but so there was an interest in Penn to have the position filled. I thought that I could participate.
Are we in discussion?
we are in discussion, yeah.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah, please.
So did the Panton board appoint you? I mean,
Yes.
Okay,
So-
good.
So they recommended.
Okay, great.
There's some, I think there's some unclarity about who has the power, but we have to accept it.
Great.
Or not.
But the Panton board did recommend this?
Yes.
Wonderful.
We
Good.
received Bradley from the Penn board.
Okay.
Further questions?
When was the approval?
I'm sorry?
Do you know when they approved? Like, when was that? Okay.
Last week? Great.
When did Howard call Sue?
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Okay. I'm just curious.
So, hearing no further discussion, all in favor of accepting Bradley Dewey's appointment as the director from Panton for the remainder of the term, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Is the remainder of the term?
For
This
the
March?
remainder of Diana's
It'll be
term,
until March.
which is till March. So.
Until there's the next vote.
Yeah.
Welcome. I think you need to go be sworn in by the Panton Town Clerk.
Yes,
Is
that's
that
correct.
right?
Yep.
And then visit ours and
Can I do that on Thursday?
So, I think if you can talk with Gloria after the meeting, that would be great. But welcome. We're very glad to have you with us.
All right.
F. Oh, sorry.
Before we keep going, we've got our retreat on Thursday.
Right.
If he gets his oath taken prior
That's
to
what I was
that,
saying.
then
See
he
if he
can
can do it
come
on
to that retreat.
I was expecting it.
Great.
So,
Great.
great.
So then you do the paperwork after.
Nice, George.
The oath is what's important in order to participate in the retreat, the paperwork with us.
All right. F. Do I hear a motion to authorize the change to the resolution submitted to the VSBA?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
So, I don't know how much you guys noticed, but the VSBA board has a committee that looks at all the resolutions, and when this one was brought to the board, or to the committee, everyone was really enthusiastic about it, but they didn't like the stone throwing, is how they described it. And I listened to their wise counsel and accepted their suggestion, and that's what we have in front of us.
So it looked like there were two sentences that were
There's two whereases that were removed.
removed.
The whereases that were removed are, whereas Vermont school boards have been required to work through Act 46, 77, 11, 166, and many more in a very short period. And then whereas the Agency of Education has recently denied students dual enrollment vouchers without explanation. Those are the two that got removed. It's not substantial. I would have liked to have thrown some stones. That's just my personality. So anyway, I think that I've gotten a lot of feedback from this. I think I'm kind of hoping the agency will pay attention.
It's a good resolution.
We'll see.
Any further questions? We've accepted this in a previous form, so.
I've got a hand over there.
Oh, yes, Una? I'm sorry, it's about the resolution, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Quick question about the resolution. I was wondering to get this week's attention if maybe we could include one, especially about the denial of student vouchers back in there. Because I feel like that's especially important, especially to students who a lot of them require and need those vouchers or looking towards them for classes.
There is something, and I'm afraid my memory is not all that good. I know that was some discussion about the dual enrollment program and changing it. Because I had the same issue. Can I get back with you? Let me figure out what it was that I'm thinking about, that the VSBA is paying attention to, because it is a discussion, and it has been a discussion at the board level. And it's super concerning to many of the board members.
Is it dual enrollment or early college? Because that
It
was
was
recently
my
in the
understanding it
bigger.
was dual enrollment, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm afraid I may not.
Yeah, I know there's some discussion about early college right now because students have to unenroll, and it impacts the
All
ed
sorts of
grant, the
stuff.
bottom line, because they're technically no longer our students, they're students,
Yeah.
and then we re-enroll them on the day they graduate in order to produce a diploma for them, but we don't get the ed grant funding for students their senior year if they go to early college. So I think it was a Vermont Digger article like in the last couple days talking about that.
This in particular was dual enrollment was denied to a student that was going to a New York school. This was a border, at least the one that I was familiar with.
Laura, do you want to
They kinda
just table this until you have an answer? And we'll come back to it?
So we are up against a deadline at the board, and because our board didn't meet in time, this is already the revised resolution has already been adopted by the board. So in order to, I don't know how we would go about changing it.
So just pursue
The dual
the issue
enrollment.
as a separate item, and we've got to approve the resolution that they've adopted now.
We kind of do.
We really do.
So, how about this? How about I find out some more and I'll report back at the next board meeting? Oh, no. Okay.
So, hearing no further discussion, all in favor of accepting the changes to the resolution submitted to the VSBA, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Action item G is about a recommendation to hire. Could I have a?
So moved. I move to hire Susan Dunn.
You move to recommend to
Peter
hire.
Straub as recommended by the administration.
Second.
Discussion? Questions? These are one-year hires,
They're
correct?
one-year hires, they're also two folks that we already have on staff, So they're actually just moving into these positions from other positions, support staff positions in our schools. We were really lucky to have them. They're very well qualified, and we're excited to have them in those roles.
Sheila, it's very hard to hear you, so if you can speak up.
I said in this instance they were two members we already had on staff. So they asked if it was a one-year position, which it was, yes.
Thanks.
Sorry.
So, further questions? No? No. Okay, so hearing no further discussion, would those who approve of the motion to approve the recommendation to hire Susan Dunn and Peter Straub, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Could I have a motion to approve the general funds transfer to cover the food service deficit up to $52,037?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? John? No.
No, I mean, just maybe when we get to the budget season, we can really talk about what our options are for dealing with that deficit. And just like, maybe it's just that we're going to ask the taxpayers that we're going to pay more money to feed everybody or something. So, thank you. That's it.
Hearing no further discussion, would all who approve of the motion please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So we'll go ahead and do that. Motion carries. I would like to now, could someone give me a motion to go into executive session?
We'll go to executive session under 1 BSA 313A1A to discuss contract negotiations.
Second.
Are we inviting anyone?
We are not invited. We're not.
Nope. We're going to bring superintendent.
Nope. Nope.
Really?
Yep. Okay. We've left executive session. We are now back in open session. I would like to entertain a motion to ratify the 2019-20 employment contract with ANTA pending ratification by ANTA.
So moved.
Second. So George, G, I gotta send this to Lori. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm abstaining.
Any abstentions, Lori? So the motion carries. Great. We have a contract. We will have a contract, we hope, as of next week. Our side of the part has been done. Good luck. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Excellent. See y'all on Thursday.
Yes.